In this video, I will talk about the discussion board, how to create forums, how to grade forums, how to set up your options, and the various options that you have available to you when creating discussions in your course. As the faculty member of this course, you can get access to creating discussions and manipulating all your discussions by going to your course control panel, opening up the course tools drop-down list, and clicking discussion board. But in order for your students to get access to the discussion board, you have to provide them some sort of menu link over on the left side so they can get access to the discussion board because, as you know, students do not have access to the course control panel below. So you must provide them a menu link of some kind. In this particular course that I'm working with, I have created a menu item that goes directly to my discussion board. And I can provide this to my students so that they can click on discussions and go directly to the discussion board. Here in the discussion board area, I can see all the discussions that I have available that are outstanding right now, or that have already been created. I can go into this discussion board and see that I have no forums that have been created. So I want to create my first forum for this course discussion board. And I do that by clicking the Create Forum button. First thing I must do is give this a name, and I will simply call this Chapter 1 Discussion Activity. I scroll down and I type any instructions in the box I'd like to give my students. I then scroll down to see my various options. Do I want to go ahead and make this discussion available? Do I want to time release this and restrict it by dates? I now have access to my forum settings. For example, do I want to allow anonymous posts so that I don't know who it is that's posting to the discussion board? Do I want to allow the author to delete their own posts? Or maybe I only want them to be able to delete it if nobody else has replied to it. Do I want to allow the author to edit their posts? This way they cannot delete it, so you know that they posted, but they can edit their own posts to edit out misspellings or mistakes that they made. Do I want to allow post tagging? Post tagging is a tool that you can use as the instructor to tag each post with certain keywords that perhaps you would like to search for later. For example, if a student is talking about a very broad topic and there are 5 or 6 or 10 different things that they could possibly talk about, then maybe once you read their post and they talk about 2 or 3 of those 10 items, you could then tag that post as they talked about this item, and this item, and then later when you go back to your discussion board, you can then extract data and look at information in your discussion board by pulling out keywords and say, I only want to see certain posts that have been tagged with this particular word. If you want to allow that ability, you have to put a check mark next to Allow Post Tagging. The next option is, do you want to allow users to reply with a quote? Which means that when they reply, the original person's post would then be quoted inside of their own post. Makes it a little bit easier to read as you're reading down the screen. Do I want to allow participants to attach files? For example, you might have a discussion that says, please go find your favorite painting on the internet. Save the image and attach it to your discussion board post. So allowing file attachments would give the students that ability. The next option is, do you want to allow members to create new threads? This will be critical because you certainly don't want to have to create new threads for the students every time they want to make a post. One of the main reasons of using the discussion board is to allow students to post questions and discuss with each other inside of the forum topic. So you definitely want to allow members to create new threads. Another great feature of the Blackboard discussion board is being able to allow people to subscribe to the discussion forum. I'll explain this in a little more detail when you actually see the post, the forum when it goes live, and I'll explain what the subscription button does. But the subscription button, the concept behind that button is much like your local newspaper. If you subscribe to your local newspaper in your hometown, you don't have to call them and ask them to deliver the new copies every week when they come out with a new edition. They simply do it automatically. Why? Because you have a subscription to their service, so it's automatically delivered to you. The same concept applies here. If you were to allow people to subscribe to discussion boards in your course, then anytime somebody made a post on the discussion board, the person who has subscribed would then get notified by email that a new discussion board post has been added. In this way, they don't have to log into Blackboard every single time to check and see if new posts have been made. The new posts will automatically be delivered to them in their email, so they can read what people have said in the posts, and then they can choose if they want to go log into Blackboard and make a formal reply using the Blackboard discussion board tool. The various options available to you for subscribing are: do you want to allow people to subscribe to threads, to the entire forum, and the email that they get back when they are notified of a new post, do you want that to include the body of the post in the email, or simply a link for them to click on and go look at it? I typically allow subscriptions to the forum, and I typically allow the actual body of the post, what they actually said, to be sent to everybody who subscribes. To me, that's the most useful, and it's the nicest way to set up my discussion board. Do I want to allow members to rate posts? Thumbs up, thumbs down type thing. Perhaps you want to provide some competition inside your discussion board to who can have the highest rated posts. Well, that's where you would do that. And the last option is, do you want to force moderation of posts? The forcing of the moderation of posts means that if your students make a post to the discussion board, if it's moderated, it does not go live for everyone else to see it until you approve it. This does give you the benefit of controlling the type of materials and comments that are going out to your discussion board, and gives you more control over making sure that they're not saying anything they're not supposed to be saying, and that you're moderating everything. The downside is you'll constantly be getting emails to say, please moderate this post. If that's going to be a hassle, and if you don't like having to deal with that, then do not moderate your posts. Of course, you can make discussion boards gradable. I will allow this one to have a possible 10 points. I've added all my options, and I'm done. So now I'm going to click the Submit button. As you can now see, my Chapter 1 discussion forum activity has now been posted to my course. It's available because I said I wanted to make it available. And so now I can actually go into my discussion board forum on the Chapter 1. And when I'm ready, I can create my initial post if I want to by clicking the Create Thread. On the Create Thread screen, I would give it a subject, type whatever I want my post to be, scroll down, attach files if I want, and click Submit. I, as the instructor, have now added the first week's thread. Students can now join the discussion and start adding items, adding their own threads, or opening up my thread and clicking Reply if they'd like to reply to what I've said. A couple of items I will point out on this page. If I scroll down, I can see the number of times that this page has been viewed. This is a good way to see which discussion board posts are getting the most views, the most activity. You can see not only the number of times you have viewed this particular post, but the total number of views that the entire course participants have viewed this post. To go back to the main discussion board forum, I can either click the discussion board link over here in the menu. In the breadcrumb trail up here, I can go back directly to the forum main screen, and then I'll be able to see all the threads as my students add them down the page. I just put the video on pause, and I logged in as a student, and I replied to this discussion, and then I logged back in as the instructor, and now I've restarted the video so that you can see what happens. Here on the discussion main page, as you can see, in this column right here, it says Unread Posts. I have a reply to my initial post that I have not read yet. So I can click into my discussion thread that I started, and I can see that a student has replied to my initial discussion. So I can click on the bolded sentence that says the student replied, and I can see here is exactly what the student said. I can even see the initial parent post of where I made my initial post to see what they're replying to. I can then choose to reply to the student right here if I wanted to, and we could have a running conversation right here in this thread. To go back to the discussion board forum main screen, I go back to the main screen. As you will recall, I decided to grade this discussion board forum. So when I'm ready to grade my student's activity, I simply click the Grade Forum button. On the screen will be listed all the way down the page all of the students who have participated in this discussion board forum. It shows me the number of posts that they made as well. When I'm ready to give them a grade, I simply click the Grade button. The grade screen will load, and this will allow me to see some statistics about this particular student, the last time they posted, average, minimum, maximum post sizes, and so forth. Listed all the way down the page will be all of the posts that they made, what they said, the date and the time that they did it. You can read exactly what they said, and in this way you can even print the screen right here. You can go down the page, sort it if you want to by date, by the order that it was submitted, and you can see all the posts that the student made on this particular discussion board forum. And then when I'm ready to grade this student's activity, I click the Edit Grade button. I give them their grade. I'll give them 10 points. I can provide feedback if I'd like, make any notes for my benefit, and click the Save Grade button. The student's discussion has now been graded. They've been given 10 out of 10 points. And that's how you manage your discussion board and grade your discussion board items.